What are the issues, or does it simply boil down to, you know, who is your party?
Do you know what? It's so interesting here in Wakefield, speaking to people that have been milling about the town over today and yesterday. There seems to be a general sense that they wish it was all over, that people have been absolutely hounded by the extraordinary number of parties standing here and the extraordinary number of leaflets that they have sent. I think there'll be a general sense of relief after Thursday when the by-election circus leaves town. But it is interesting talking to people about the issues that they care about, the issues that they'll be voting on. Clearly, local issues in this by-election play a big part. Clearly, weighing heavy on the minds of voters here is the conduct of the previous MP, and it would be remiss to dismiss exactly the causes of this by-election, why this by-election is being held in the first place, which is, of course, the former Conservative MP left Parliament having been convicted as being a sex offender. But there's also local issues. There's concern about the local state of the NHS. There's concern about bus routes. There's concern about antisocial behaviour here in Wakefield as well. And that's before we get on to those national issues as well. We've spoken to people who've raised the migration crisis, indeed the government's Rwanda policy, train strikes, inflation, the rest of it. I think really what we're going to be seeing in terms of how people vote tomorrow here in Wakefield will be a mix of both the local and the national.
OK, and just give us a picture of which one is almost more treasured or more significant in terms of Boris Johnson.
Well, it's interesting. Boris Johnson was meant to come up here on Friday, but of course, as part of that sort of red wall visit to a conference and Wakefield, that was all cancelled in favour of a visit to Kiev in Ukraine. I asked the Conservative candidate about that, and he said he understood why the Prime Minister felt he needed to abide by his international commitments, and he received a phone call from the Prime Minister over the weekend, sort of apologising for not being here. Although it's interesting to note the Prime Minister does feature on Conservative Party leaflets, something that isn't true in reverse. The Labour Party leader, Sir Keir Starmer, has visited Wakefield twice, but he doesn't appear in the Labour Party literature, which I found to be quite interesting there. I spoke to a couple of voters yesterday who thought that Sir Keir Starmer was a little bit too London-centric for somewhere like Wakefield, who didn't quite fit in with how the town thought, and perhaps that's being reflected in the literature that the Labour Party have been focusing on. Really local issues. Their pledge card that they've produced, the first pledge card that Labour seem to have done since the Blair era, has been focusing on local policies, keeping open a health centre, reopening bus routes, these sort of things, rather than focusing on those national issues. So it's really interesting to see how those party leaders play on the ground.
So 15 candidates standing in Wakefield, and here they come.
Sir Archibald Stanton Earl Eaton from the official Monster Raving Loony Party.
Nadeem Ahmed for the Conservatives.
Akef Akbar, who's independent.
Paul Bickerdike from the Christian People's Alliance.
Mick Dodgson of the Freedom Alliance.
Jada Franson, an independent.
Jordan Gaskell for the UK Independence Party.
David Herdson of the Yorkshire Party.
Therese Hurst for the English Democrats.
Christopher Jones, Northern Independence Party.
Simon Lightwood for Labour.
Jamie Needle for the Liberal Democrats.
Ash Routh of the Green Party.
Ashley Simon from Britain First.
And Chris Walsh from Reform UK.